G'day guys, VaderG here. Welcome back to the channel. Just gonna in this video have a quick look at we're gonna have a look at Crescent's Tier 3 skill just quickly. Just gonna roll through that and then also do a bit of a uniform comparison just on paper and have a look at the actual skills for Captain America and Black Widow. So what we'll do is we'll get straight into this. There's nothing new about Crescent that I can actually see except for her Tier 3 skill. Which is kind of a shame because I think she really needed probably a fair bit of a buff, to be perfectly honest. I mean, on paper, she looks great. Look at all these stats, all these buffs. It looks excellent, but realistically, prior to this Tier 3, she's pretty crap. She's not very good, right? So it's all going to boil down to how good this Tier 3 skill is. So we might just have a quick look at it. We'll build her up later on and we'll do some testing in some various modes, hopefully alliance battle. I'm just going to sort of get her worked up here, get it up to 100% and have a bit of a look at it. Get all these guys together, except the bear. Come over here. Come over here, dudes. And let's go. It's a pretty cool looking skill. Have to admit that. And what do we got? 532 hits, and that's with 100%. So the skill description, I think, is like 100% extra energy, extra damage on the Tier 3 skill, which is pretty massive. So let's just roll through it again. It does look pretty good. Okay. Fire up into the air. See a bit of moon in the background. Comes down. Bit of a Superman landing with massive energy radiation out of it. It looks pretty cool. Like I said just before in the last video, don't have it built yet, so we'll probably get some ISO on her and that sort of thing, and sort of set her up. Probably don't really want to bore you guys with that now, but that's probably what we'll do. We'll try her out. I think what do we got in inventory? Oh, actually, forget inventory. We got a shitload of CTPs on pretty well all the characters, right, in the test server. So we can just unequip some of these things, you know. We're not going to be testing any of these characters. I mean, we might test Crescent against Namor. Maybe we might test her against Captain America. We might test her against Minerva. Hopefully they've got Minerva built up in this server. And we might be able to do a couple of comparisons there. Where is she? Oh yeah. Cool. So we'll be able to do some comparisons there, which will be good. Anyhow, on with the show. So we've had a quick look at Tony Stark with his 3099 suit, and it looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. With the 5 cancel, 4 cancel, 3, potentially going to do a massive amount of chain damage there, stacking, and it could be useful for a CTP or a CTP Rage. Going to have to probably do some comparisons there with this uniform versus his what do we got? Yeah, so we got the mythic in-game uniform there as well. Anyhow, let's get on with the show. Captain America. How badass does this look? Man, look at that. It's got a bit of a Cyclops thing happening with his visor. It's like yeah, it kind of looks. It's a bit of a Cyclops kind of look. I don't know what he's got that on for, but anyway, maybe there's some harsh glare where he's going. That's, who knows. But let's have a quick look at the uniform. I've got my iPad next to me here, so as we're going through this stuff, I'm going to be comparing the skills on his uniform with the actual, so the skill descriptions, with the actual skill descriptions on his endgame uniform. And we'll roll through these. What we might do, we might have a bit of a quick look at his, let's have a quick look at his actual skills in game and see how they actually roll through. See how much change there is. Okay, so his third skill is definitely changed, but it's still the kind of rush forward skill. And the fifth skill, yeah, a little bit. It's similar. It's different but similar. 4 skill, so he's totally stationary in this uniform, which it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Not great for avoiding meteors. I liked his 4 skill in his endgame uniform, where he kind of twirls around the beast like a, like a bit of a whirling dervish. Second skill looks like he has a bit of a block there. I mean, we'll look at the skill description in a moment. And his 1 skill, well, that just looks cool as. Let's have a look at that again. It flies around and hits everyone, the shield, and then before you know it's kind of just hovering in front of him. It's a pretty good look, and his tier 3 skill is kind of the same as what it was before. He's yeah, a bit of a signature skill. So let's jump back out of that and have a bit of a look at his actual skill descriptions. It looks like he's going to play pretty similar, but let's see. So we got 5 skills changed. So let's go to his 1 skill. So it's straight damage. His 1 skill in his endgame uniform actually has shock damage on it, bleed damage, removes elasticity, and a stun. Applies the self-immunity to all damage, and obviously some physical attack there as well. So from a on paper point of view, the 1 skill on the endgame uniform looks like it's pretty bonkers compared to this one. Second skill. So his second skill on this one, 100%, okay, is a damage accumulation, which is very different. We saw they actually did have like a bit of a shield on his second skill in the skill preview there. So he's got damage accumulation based on damage taken, and true damage cannot accumulate past 10% of HP. All right, so that's way different. In his old uniform, his endgame uniform, 20% bleed damage every 1 second and removes elasticity. Okay, so it's a bit of a defense decreaser with removing elasticity, and really just it was a sort of straight damage skill. Okay, so his 3rd skill, the Shielded Judgment, in the 3099 uniform, just has physical attack. In the actual endgame uniform, it had a stun on it. It had applies to self 20% increase of all defenses, and then some straight energy, some straight physical attack as well. His passive hasn't changed, of course. Let's have a look at his 4 skill, which is now called Ravaging Shield. It's straight damage. His 4 skill in the endgame uniform was 20% shock damage every 1 second, has stun, decrease all defenses, stacks up to 30%, ignores immunity, applies to self-invincible 5 seconds. So definitely on paper, the endgame uniform looks like it's going to be far superior to this potential to this 4 skill, to be perfectly honest. Okay, 5th skill in the 3099 is a straight damage attack again. In the actual endgame uniform, it has bleed damage, has shock damage, remove elasticity, has a stun, and applies to self, increase all attacks by 25%, all defenses by 1%, and all speeds by 1%. Ignore defense 10%, whereas this one actually doesn't have that, and physical damage as well. So I'd say this one's going to have, the 3099 is going to have bigger actual straight damage, but certainly not going to have all those buffs. I mean, 20%, 25% increase of all attacks for a period of 20 seconds with the endgame uniform. Yeah, that's bonkers. Also 10% ignore defense, not to be sneezed at in the endgame uniform as well. So I would say that, on paper, definitely the endgame uniform looks far superior to this uniform. How much superior is it? We'll have to test it out. We'll get some ISOs on them and run them through some paces. Okay, let's have a quick look at Black Widow. Let's just have a bit of a look at her in general. She looks pretty cool. Looks like she's alien type setup compared to what she has before, which I suppose is futuristic, right? It's an extra, it's 1,000 years in the future compared to what we've seen her before in the 2099 uniform. It does look pretty cool. I love it as sort of like translucent type gel type hoodie. So yeah, maybe that's what we'll be wearing. Oh, certainly I won't be, but maybe that's what people will be wearing at that point in time. Let's have a quick look at her uniform list, and let's have a look at the actual skills. Uniform effect, previous skill. I'm just going to open it up on my iPad at the same time, so we can do a bit of a comparison here. Where is she? Okay, I'm gonna have to delete this part of the video because it's freaking taken forever to find her. Yeah, I can't even find her. Alright, anyway, so let's have a look at these skills. So we've got the AI on. Alright, so we got a very cool skill again where you got the battens, except this looks like some sort of like an energy type effect instead. We've got a fifth skill, which has always been pretty badass with a massive area of effect of lightning damage. So that's pretty mean. Pretty cool animation as well. You see their ribs crap, is it? Is that what you see? No, it's just the way that they're built. Alright, a fourth skill is certainly different. Before it was like you shoot a bit of lightning out. Now we've got a full-on screen going on with a massive sort of bombs dropping down. Second skill looks pretty cool. Who's that remind me of? That's someone else's skill. It's like Domino's skill. The first skill, yeah, a bit of an iframe there, a bit of a sort of pushback, and sort of like electric type domes hitting the mob there. Alright, so let's just jump back out and do a bit of a comparison here with her other uniform. Really got to find her. Not sure what I've done. Okay, finally found it. Alright, so what do we got here? So let's have a quick look at her skills on paper. So this was the one where she sort of pops up in the air, so it's called landmine toss. It looks like pretty futuristic type landmines. And of course she has lightning type. We'll just have a look at the actual uniform effect compared to the end game. So with a 3099, crit rate increases to 15%, crit damage increases by 15%, enhances effects of skill graceful dancer. That is less than the Infinity War and the endgame uniforms where they actually had higher crit increases. Okay, so it's kind of telling us something straight away that maybe this uniform, even though it looks super cool, may not be quite as powerful. So what I'm doing is I'm actually comparing it against the Infinity War uniform though. Okay, so first skill, shock damage 30%, yep, same. Paralyze has the same paralyze, and lightning damage, roughly the same. Second skill, dodge rate increased by 11%, much the same. Okay, so the actual skill description is very, very similar between the oh god. Okay, so let's go again here. Okay, so let's have a look at the first skill. 30% shock damage every 1 second, paralyze, very, very similar. Second skill. Okay, so she's got a dodge rate increase of 11% on her second skill, where she doesn't actually have that in her Infinity Wars uniform. Her third skill actually has a dodge increase in the Infinity Wars uniform, but it doesn't in the 3099 uniform, so they basically just switch that around. Fourth skill, her fourth skill in the 3099 uniform has the shock damage, so damage over time, whereas the Infinity Wars uniform did not have that. And her fifth skill is 40% shock damage every 1 second in the 3099 uniform. It's so yeah, 40% with paralyze. That's a bit better than the actual Infinity Wars uniform where it's 30% shock damage. So all in all, it looks reasonably similar compared to the Infinity War. I don't actually have their endgame uniform, so I can only compare it against the Infinity War uniform, and I'm not going to roll through all the stuff in game here to do anything else. Alright guys, hopefully that's been of some use, and well, actually what we'll do, we'll have a bit of a look at the actual skill animations of the new characters as well. Oh, actually, what we'll do, we'll have a look at Sharon Rogers' uniform. No, we won't. Let's leave